For our next project, we're going to need 2 jigs. If you saw my last video, we bought one, and in this video, we're going to make one. Welcome back to Victory Woodworks with Vic, and I'm Vic. In this video, we're going to make a tenoning bevel jig like this out of some scrap plywood like this. The reason we're doing that is because our old beveling jig here, you know, it's splitting and it's not really functioning exactly the way we wanted to. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some of this plywood, we're going to rebuild this from these scraps. Now, you can make this any size you want. It's really up to you. This is actually very simple. It's going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces basically to it. So you're going to have the runner, you're going to have the high vertical, you're going to have the cross piece, and then you're going to have the little push block in the back. That's it. All of this rides on the fence, so you can slide it through and make very steep angle cuts on your wood pieces based on whatever project you happen to be making. In our case, we're going to be making some mission lamps next episode. So for that, for the base part, I need to cut an angle that is, I believe, 24 degrees on the vertical. So to do that, I'm going to need something like this. So stick with me, and I'll show you how to make this. So the first couple pieces of plywood that you're going to need are roughly dimensioned like this. This happens to be, I believe, 16, about 16, a little under, by about 11. Now, this is going to be the face of our tenoning and beveling jig. One of these pieces, we're going to slice down based on the height of our fence. It's going to go in the back. And then this other piece is going to go like this, so we can screw them all together like that. That's it. We're going to measure up our fence and see what we have here as a height. So I've got this combination square with this other extension on it that allows us to measure the top of things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen this up, make sure that we're flush on the bottom. We are. Bring it right to the top of our fence and snug it up just a little bit just to see what we got. And it's just saying 2.5 inches. Just over. Widthwise on the fence, let's just give it a quick measure. We're flush on top. Let's see what we got. 4 33/64. So let's write that down also. Now when you flip this around, you've got a little channel of, you know, where the board's going to be, so that you can pre-pilot holes right through. While we're pre-drilling, what we're going to do is going to put our top piece and our outer runner on this side and just run a line there too, so we know where we want some of the other screws to hold it in. So let's go over to the drill press, bang a couple of these out. Just taking some of the edges off, and there were little burrs popping out of here. So next step is we're going to put a bead of glue down. We're going to rest our piece on top, align it properly, and what I'm going to do is tap in a couple brads just so we don't get any shifting around, and then we're going to drive the screws in. So let's do that. Yeah, watch your fingers. Last thing is you want a nail going through your finger. Before we drive the screws in, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pre-drill these holes just to avoid a little splitting of the plywood. I'm going to give that screw some place to go. Now, the screws I prefer using are these Grip Right construction screws. They're 1.25 inches. They've got the star head on them. They just seem to work really good. You could probably use any number of screws because it's not going to be a lot of forces on this right here. So feel free to use whatever you think is best or whatever it is you happen to have. Now don't overdrive these because you can pull it right out of the plywood. So I have my clutch set on here, so hopefully we won't run into that problem. So we have this one side done. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get this other side pre-drilled similarly and get it ready for assembly also. And that's going to go just like that. To get our guiding line on this side, what we're going to do is we're just going to take the back piece that was here, just press it up against, and take our pencil to give us an idea of where the top's going to be of the board. So when we put our glue on there, we have a good idea. So basically this is what we're going to do, just like that. All right, we still have our motion. Now what I'm going to do is we're going to tack this right in. So we've now tacked in our board. We can probably remove the clamps. And now what we're going to do, still have motion, no slop, which is good. And we're going to now pre-drill through our holes so that we don't blow out the plywood. Give it one last check, and we are completely flat, which is good. Now we're going to take our screws and just screw it in. Okay, still completely square. Now let's keep in mind, we're not machining, we're woodworking. So even if you're off by a hundredth or two or three, you're still okay. Next step in the process is to put a little backer board here or a push block, whatever it is you want to call it. So as we push lumber through, it's got something to push up against. Now this I'm not going to glue in because this is a sacrificial piece and it will be chewed up. Just make sure it's flat, and this looks flat. And when we put it on here, we're going to just screw it in and make sure it's square to the table. So it'll be right about there. We'll clamp it down, screw it in, and we're good to go. Still square. Now the size of this piece here is really up to you, but one thing I wanted to do, and I'm not sure if this is going to work out yet, is I've got these little toggle clamps where I want to mount it so that it can push and hold on here. I also may put a hole out here somewhere so I can push a clamp in and have it clamp around the other side if necessary. But these toggle clamps are key, at least for me. I'm going to try that. That'll be next. So let's get this on, and then let's do the toggle clamps. And by the way, you don't want the screws down low because you're going to run a chance of running into the saw. So let's just kind of put them in the middle to upper section. I'm going to put one kind of right around there, which is in line with the top of our fence. And we'll just be very careful. Actually, I'm going to put two, one over here, because I think there's a screw right back there. So there, just checking again, square, square, making sure. Totally square, totally square. All right, so we're good. Now let's see what kind of motion we have here. Not bad. This is exactly what we were looking for. Next step is we're going to add some toggle clamps, and then we'll give it a test run. So from a toggle clamp perspective, I'm thinking something like this. Gives me a couple inches of reach. So one down lower, one maybe a little higher, somewhere right around there, I think is the right answer. I don't think there's a wrong answer. I think what we can always do is take these off and get rid of them if we wanted to. And then we'll see what we got to do on this side. Maybe there's another clamp we put on this side to get it from there, but I'm not sure about that. So for right now, let's just mark out these. Make sure they're square. Again, not that it really matters. Just make sure they're behind the edge of your push block here, because you may run into a problem then with the clamps interfering with whatever it is you're trying to cut. So I'm going to just kind of mark those like that. Now no countersink here because we don't need it. Lock these down, clamp it down, not bad. Looks like we got about a 1/2 inch-ish down here. So let's do the same thing for the other one also. And then we'll take it for a test spin. So there's our bevel tenoning jig with clamps. Everything clears. Not so bad. Not so bad at all. All right, let's clean this up and let's give it a test run and see what we can cut here. We're going to try to cut a very steep bevel for a project that we're doing in our next video. So we're going to just take a little chamfer cut at a 10-degree angle from this piece of wood just to test this jig out. All right, it's in there secure. Maybe we lower this just a little bit. And let's see how it does. Looks good. Looks like it works. So there you have it. A simple tenoning / beveling jig made out of 4 pieces of scrap, plywood in this case. Added a couple toggle clamps and you're all set to go. We're going to be using this to make our mission lamp next week, or next video I should say. So stay tuned for that also. So if you learned something new or you like what you saw, please like, subscribe, and leave some comments down below for the videos. In the meantime, stay passionate and make something.